In a galaxy far from Earth, there was a vibrant planet called Lumina. The skies of Lumina were a swirling mix of pinks and blues, and the ground sparkled with a soft golden light. This planet was home to many strange and wonderful creatures, but none was as small and as lost as the alien puppy. The alien puppy was no bigger than a small dog on Earth. Its fur was a soft shade of lavender, and its large, round eyes were as bright as stars. The puppy had tiny, pointed ears that twitched with every sound and a long, bushy tail that curled up like a question mark. Despite its cute appearance, the puppy was very alone and very scared. The puppy had been left behind. Its kind, the Lumini, were a tall, graceful race with shimmering silver skin. They had a city full of tall towers and floating platforms, but now they were nowhere to be seen. The puppy had wandered away from the safety of its home and found itself lost in the endless fields of glowing flowers and towering trees. The fields of Lumina were beautiful but also confusing. The flowers changed colors every few minutes, and the trees were so tall that their tops were hidden in the swirling clouds above. The puppy wandered through this magical landscape, its tiny paws leaving small, soft prints in the glowing soil. Every sound made the puppy jump. An echo of a bird call or a rustling leaf seemed like a new danger. As the sun began to set, casting a warm orange glow over the land, the puppy found a small cave. It was a cozy spot sheltered from the cool evening breeze. The puppy curled up inside, trying to hide from the world. It was cold and hungry, and its once bright eyes were now dim with fear. The cave, though safe, was dark and lonely. The only sound was the quiet, distant hum of the planet's energy. The Lumini were known for their grace and beauty, but they had little patience for those who strayed from their path. The puppy had been part of a small group of young Lumini learning to explore their world. It had wandered too far, and when it tried to return, it was too late. The Lumini had already left for their grand city, and the little puppy was left behind. In the city of the Lumini, the tall silver beings were busy with their daily tasks. Their city floated high above the ground, and they moved with an elegance that made their silver skin glint in the sunlight. They were not used to seeing such small creatures as the puppy, and so when the time came to leave, they didn't notice the tiny alien left behind. As the stars began to twinkle in the sky, the puppy was still alone in its little cave. It had managed to find some small, glowing berries that were sweet but not very filling. The puppy's tummy rumbled with hunger, and its tiny body shivered from the cold. The night on Lumina was peaceful, but it was also full of strange sounds. Every now and then, the puppy would hear the distant roar of the Lumina winds or the soft call of alien night creatures. Each noise made the puppy shiver with fear. It missed the warmth and safety of its home and longed for the company of its kind. As the night wore on, the puppy tried to sleep. It curled up as tightly as it could, wrapping its tail around its body for warmth. It dreamt of running through the glowing fields with its friends, chasing after floating lights and playing in the soft golden grass. But these dreams were short-lived as the cold and fear woke it up again and again. Morning came slowly. The soft light of dawn began to seep into the cave, casting a warm, gentle glow. The puppy blinked its eyes open and stretched its tiny legs. It felt a bit better with the sun's warmth, but it was still hungry and afraid. It knew it needed to find help or food, but it had no idea where to start. The puppy stepped out of the cave and looked around. The world outside was just as beautiful but also overwhelming. The tall, glowing flowers and the massive trees seemed even more confusing in the daylight. The puppy took a few hesitant steps, its little feet crunching softly on the golden ground. The puppy's keen nose twitched as it tried to pick up any familiar scents. It sniffed the air, but only caught the sweet smell of the glowing flowers and the faint scent of the night breeze. There was no sign of its kind or any other creatures that might help. With a heavy heart, the puppy started to walk. It moved slowly, its tiny body tired from the night's cold and hunger. It walked past fields of shimmering flowers and through forests of towering trees, hoping to find someone who might help it. The little alien puppy did not know that its journey was about to take a turn. Far above, in the vastness of space, a group of human explorers were on their way to Lumina. They were looking for new worlds and new adventures, and little did they know their path would soon cross with the lonely, lost puppy. For now, the alien puppy continued to wander, its small form moving slowly through the glowing landscape of Lumina. It hoped with all its tiny heart that someone would come to its rescue and that it would soon find a place where it belonged. Humans arrive. In the vast, dark expanse of space, a sleek spaceship named Starlight Voyager cruised through the stars. Inside, a crew of human explorers bustled about, their voices filled with excitement and curiosity. They had traveled far from Earth, seeking new worlds and new adventures. Their destination was the beautiful and mysterious planet of Lumina. Captain Jane Thompson stood at the control panel, her eyes focused on the glowing screen in front of her. "We're approaching Lumina," she announced, her voice filled with enthusiasm. "Prepare for landing." The crew quickly went to work, checking systems and preparing the spaceship for its descent. The planet below was a swirl of colors, with fields of golden light and towering trees glowing softly. It looked like something out of a fairy tale, and the crew couldn't wait to explore it. As the Starlight Voyager touched down gently on the surface of Lumina, the crew gathered around the ship's airlock. They put on their spacesuits, which were designed to protect them from the planet's unique atmosphere. The suits were shiny and silver, reflecting the colorful light of the planet. With a soft hiss, the airlock opened, and the crew stepped out onto the glowing ground. They marveled at the sight before them. The landscape was like nothing they had ever seen. Fields of flowers that changed colors, trees that sparkled, and a sky that seemed to swirl with shades of pink and blue. "Look at this place," exclaimed Lieutenant Mark Evans, his eyes wide with wonder. "It's incredible." The crew set up their equipment and began their exploration. They took samples of the soil, collected data on the atmosphere, and scanned the surroundings with their advanced sensors. Everything was going smoothly until one of the sensors picked up something unusual. "Captain, I'm getting a strange reading," said Dr. Lisa Hart, the ship's scientist. She pointed to her monitor, which showed a blip of activity not far from their landing site. "It looks like there's a life form nearby." Captain Thompson looked at the monitor with interest. "Let's check it out. It might be a new discovery." The crew followed the signal, making their way through the glowing fields and towards a cluster of tall, shimmering trees. The alien landscape was both beautiful and eerie, with strange sounds and lights creating a magical yet mysterious atmosphere. As they moved deeper into the forest, they noticed a small cave nestled between the roots of a giant tree. The entrance was barely visible, hidden behind a curtain of glowing vines. The signal was coming from inside the cave. "Be careful," Captain Thompson instructed. "We don't know what we might find." The crew approached the cave cautiously. Inside, the air was cool and calm, a sharp contrast to the warm, glowing world outside. The crew shone their flashlights around, illuminating the dark space. That's when they saw it. In the corner of the cave, curled up and shivering, was the alien puppy. Its lavender fur looked soft and fluffy, and its large eyes were filled with fear. The puppy looked up at the humans with a mixture of curiosity and anxiety. "Oh, look at that," Lieutenant Evans said softly, stepping closer. "It's a tiny alien puppy." The puppy's ears twitched, and it tried to hide further into the corner. Its small body trembled, and it let out a soft, worried whine. The humans stopped, understanding that the puppy was frightened. "Let's not scare it," Dr. Hart suggested. "We should approach slowly and calmly." Captain Thompson nodded and took a step forward. "Hello there," she said gently. "We're not here to hurt you. We just want to help." The puppy watched the humans with wide eyes, its fear slowly giving way to curiosity. It could sense that these beings were different from the ones who had left it behind. The gentle tone of their voices and their non-threatening posture made the puppy feel a bit safer. Dr. Hart reached into her bag and pulled out a small, glowing food packet. She carefully placed it on the ground a short distance from the puppy. "We have something for you," she said softly. "It's food. It might help you feel better." The puppy's nose twitched as it sniffed the air. The smell of the food was enticing, and it slowly inched closer to the packet. Its little stomach rumbled, and it hesitated for a moment before taking a tentative bite. The food was strange but tasty, and the puppy ate it quickly, its fear melting away with each bite. Captain Thompson and the crew watched with relief as the puppy began to eat. The sight was heartwarming, and they felt a growing sense of compassion for the tiny creature. They knew they had to find out more about it and ensure its safety. As the puppy finished the food, it looked up at the humans with a bit more confidence. It wagged its tail slightly and let out a small, happy bark. The crew smiled and relaxed, seeing that the puppy was starting to trust them. "Looks like we've made a new friend. Lieutenant Evans said, grinning. Dr. Hart took out a small, soft blanket and placed it gently next to the puppy. "Here, you can use this to stay warm," she said. The puppy sniffed the blanket and then curled up on it, feeling more comfortable. It looked up at the humans with a mixture of gratitude and curiosity. The crew knew they had made a positive impact, and they were eager to learn more about the puppy and its world. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the landscape, the crew of the Starlight Voyager made their way back to their ship. They knew they had discovered something special and were excited to continue their exploration of Lumina. The alien puppy watched them leave, feeling a little less alone. It had found new friends who cared and would help it. For the first time in a while, it felt a glimmer of hope. First contact. The next morning on Lumina was filled with the soft, golden light of dawn. The Starlight Voyager rested peacefully on the planet's surface, its crew busy with their tasks. Inside the cave, the alien puppy had slept soundly on the soft blanket the humans had given it. It woke up to the gentle sounds of the forest and the warm sunlight streaming through the entrance. The crew had decided to visit the puppy again. They wanted to learn more about it and see if they could help further. Captain Jane Thompson, Dr. Lisa Hart, and Lieutenant Mark Evans gathered their equipment and prepared for their second visit to the cave. "Let's make sure we're careful," Captain Thompson said as they approached the cave. The puppy might still be nervous. The cave was quiet when they arrived. The puppy, now fully awake, was sitting near the entrance, its large eyes watching the humans with a mixture of curiosity and caution. It had eaten the food they left the day before and seemed more comfortable. Dr. Hart crouched down and extended her hand slowly, showing that she meant no harm. "Good morning, little one," she said softly. "We're back to check on you. How are you feeling today?" The puppy's ears perked up at the sound of Dr. Hart's gentle voice. It took a few cautious steps toward her, its tail wagging slightly. The fear from the previous day was still there, but the warmth and kindness of the humans had made a difference. Lieutenant Evans held out a small, shiny object. "We brought you a toy," he said with a friendly smile. "It's something you might enjoy." The puppy's eyes widened with interest as it saw the toy. It was a small, colorful ball that made a soft, cheerful sound when it moved. The puppy approached the toy with careful steps, sniffing it curiously. When it touched the ball with its nose, it made a happy, curious bark. Dr. Hart smiled and took a small step back, giving the puppy space to explore. "It's all yours," she said softly. "We just want you to be happy and comfortable." The puppy began to play with the ball, its small paws batting it around and making it roll. The toy's cheerful sounds seemed to amuse and delight the puppy. It let out a joyful bark, its earlier nervousness fading away as it focused on the new plaything. Captain Thompson and the crew watched with smiles on their faces. They were pleased to see the puppy so happy and engaged. It was clear that the little alien was beginning to trust them more. "Looks like we're making progress," Captain Thompson said, her voice filled with satisfaction. "Let's continue to be gentle and see if we can learn more about it." The crew spent the next hour interacting with the puppy. They observed its behavior and tried to understand its needs. They used their advanced technology to scan the puppy's health and ensure it was safe and well. The scans showed that the puppy was in good health but had been undernourished. Dr. Hart noted that they should provide more food and ensure the puppy stayed hydrated. "We need to keep feeding it and make sure it gets the nutrients it needs," Dr. Hart said as she reviewed the scan results. "This little one has been through a lot." Lieutenant Evans nodded and prepared more of the special food for the puppy. He also filled a small portable water dish and set it near the puppy. "Here's some more food and water," he said, placing the items on the ground. The puppy eagerly approached the food and water, its tail wagging with excitement. It ate and drank with a hunger that showed how much it needed the nourishment. The crew watched with a mix of compassion and relief, knowing they were helping to make a positive difference. As the day went on, the crew continued to interact with the puppy. They gently introduced it to more toys and played with it in the cave. The puppy became more playful and relaxed, showing its growing trust in the humans. Captain Thompson and the crew took turns sitting with the puppy, talking to it in soothing voices. They made sure to approach slowly and carefully, always respecting the puppy's space and needs. By the end of the day, the puppy had become much more comfortable with the humans. It even followed them to the cave's entrance, curious about the world outside. The crew decided to let it explore a little under their watchful eyes. The forest outside was still magical and glowing, but the puppy seemed more at ease now. It took a few tentative steps into the open air, looking back at the humans for reassurance. The crew stood nearby, ready to offer support if needed. As the puppy explored, it discovered the wonders of the glowing flowers and the soft, golden ground. It sniffed the air, its small nose twitching with excitement. The puppy's playful energy was a welcome sight, and it frolicked among the flowers, enjoying its newfound freedom. Captain Thompson and the crew were pleased with the progress. They knew they had made a significant breakthrough in building trust with the alien puppy. The once fearful creature was now a happy, playful companion. The sun began to set, casting a warm orange glow over the landscape. The crew decided it was time to head back to the Starlight Voyager. They gathered their things and prepared to leave, but not before giving the puppy one last bit of food and a gentle goodbye. "We'll be back tomorrow," Captain Thompson said, patting the puppy gently. "Take care and enjoy your evening." The puppy barked softly and nuzzled the humans, its eyes filled with gratitude. As the crew walked back to their spaceship, they felt a sense of accomplishment. They had made a meaningful connection with the alien puppy and had taken the first steps toward understanding and helping it. The puppy watched the humans leave, feeling a sense of hope and happiness. It had found new friends who cared for it and would help it through its challenges. For the first time in a long while, it felt a glimmer of joy in its little heart. Earning trust. The days on Lumina grew warmer as the sun bathed the land in a gentle golden light. The crew of the Starlight Voyager continued their mission, but their new priority was the small, adorable alien puppy they had found. The bond between the humans and the puppy was growing stronger with each passing day. Every morning, the crew would visit the puppy in the cave. Captain Jane Thompson, Dr. Lisa Hart, and Lieutenant Mark Evans took turns bringing food, toys, and their company. Each visit was a chance to make the puppy feel more comfortable and secure. The puppy, whose name the crew had affectionately decided to call Lumi, was becoming more curious and playful. Each day, Lumi grew more confident around the humans. It would wag its tail excitedly when the crew arrived, and it was now eager to explore the area around the cave. One sunny morning, Captain Thompson brought a colorful assortment of new toys for Lumi. "Look what we have for you today," she said, her voice warm and inviting. She laid out a few toys on the ground, including a small, glowing ball, a plush, squeaky alien creature, and a soft, bouncy rubber ring. Lumi's eyes lit up as it saw the toys. It immediately bounced over to the glowing ball and began to push it around with its nose. The ball made cheerful sounds as Lumi played, its joy evident in every happy bark and playful leap. Dr. Hart, who had been observing, decided to join in the fun. She picked up the plush alien creature and wiggled it gently in front of Lumi. "Want to play with this one?" she asked with a smile. Lumi sniffed the plush toy and then pounced on it, batting it around with its tiny paws. It rolled around, squeaking as Lumi played. The sight of the puppy's playful antics brought smiles to the crew's faces. Lieutenant Evans took the opportunity to further build trust. He sat down on the ground a short distance from Lumi, holding out a hand with some more of the special food. "I've got a little snack for you," he said softly. Lumi looked at the food and then at Evans. It was still cautious but seemed to understand that the humans were there to help. With a hesitant step, Lumi approached Evans and sniffed the food. After a moment, it began to eat, its small tail wagging happily. The crew noticed that Lumi was starting to relax more around them. The initial fear was fading, replaced by trust and curiosity. They continued to be patient, always approaching slowly and speaking in gentle, soothing tones. As the days went by, Lumi began to show signs of affection. It would follow the humans around the cave, its tail wagging with excitement. When the crew sat down, Lumi would curl up next to them, enjoying their company. It had even started to respond to its name, looking up with a happy bark when called. One afternoon, Captain Thompson decided to take Lumi on a short, guided walk around the area near the cave. She carried a small, portable harness and gently placed it on Lumi. "Let's go for a little adventure," she said cheerfully. Lumi seemed excited by the idea and bounced eagerly. The crew made sure to move slowly, allowing Lumi to get used to the new experience. As they walked, they pointed out the beautiful sights of Lumina, including the glowing flowers and the soft golden grasses. Lumi's curiosity led it to explore the surroundings, sniffing the flowers and playing with the bouncy soft grass. It looked back at the crew frequently, seeking reassurance and comfort. Captain Thompson and the others were always close by, ready to help if needed. The gentle exploration helped Lumi become more confident. It began to explore farther from the cave, always keeping the crew in sight. It would return to them occasionally, seeking a pat on the head or a scratch behind the ears. The crew continued to observe Lumi closely, learning more about its likes and dislikes. They found that Lumi enjoyed the soft, gentle touches and the sound of soothing voices. They made a point of using calm, encouraging words and actions to help Lumi feel safe and loved. One evening, as the sun began to set, the crew gathered around Lumi with a special surprise. They had prepared a cozy, comfortable bed for Lumi using soft, plush materials and warm blankets. "We thought you might like a special place to sleep," Dr. Hart said as she set up the bed in the cave. Lumi looked at the new bed with wide eyes. It sniffed the soft blankets and then curled up on the bed, its small body sinking into the plush comfort. Lumi let out a contented sigh, clearly appreciating the new cozy spot. Captain Thompson and the crew watched with satisfaction as Lumi settled into its new bed. The trust and bond between them had grown stronger, and it was clear that Lumi felt safe and cared for. The crew knew that earning Lumi's trust had been a gradual process, but it had been worth every effort. They continued to visit daily, always finding new ways to show their care and support. Lumi's playful, happy demeanor was a testament to the positive impact they had made. As the days turned into weeks, Lumi became a beloved member of the crew's daily routines. The once frightened puppy had transformed into a joyful, playful companion. The bond between Lumi and the humans was now strong and genuine, built on trust, kindness, and shared experiences. The crew felt a deep sense of accomplishment and joy in their hearts. They had not only made a new friend, but had also helped a lost and scared creature find its place in a new world. Lumi's transformation was a reminder of the power of compassion and patience. With each passing day, Lumi's happiness grew and the bond with the crew deepened. They knew that their journey together was just beginning and that there were many more adventures to come. Trouble comes. The days on Lumina were filled with warmth and wonder as the crew of the Starlight Voyager continued to bond with their new friend, Lumi. The small lavender alien puppy had become an integral part of their daily routines. It played joyfully with the toys, explored the glowing landscape, and snuggled up to the humans with a trust that had grown over time. One afternoon, as the sun bathed the forest in a soft golden glow, the crew was enjoying a peaceful moment with Lumi. Captain Jane Thompson and Dr. Lisa Hart sat near the cave entrance, watching as Lumi played with its favorite toy. Lieutenant Mark Evans was setting up a small picnic, preparing some fresh food for both Lumi and the crew. The tranquil scene was suddenly disrupted by a low, rumbling noise. The ground beneath them trembled slightly, and the soft glow of the forest seemed to flicker. The crew exchanged worried glances, sensing that something was amiss. "What's happening?" Lieutenant Evans asked, looking around with concern. Dr. Hart checked her equipment, her face growing more serious. "I'm picking up strange readings. There's some kind of disturbance nearby." Captain Thompson stood up, her eyes scanning the forest. "We should investigate. Lumi, stay close to us." Lumi, sensing the change in the atmosphere, looked up with wide eyes and whimpered. It trotted over to the humans, seeking comfort and reassurance. The crew moved cautiously, following the direction of the strange readings. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the rumbling grew louder. The trees swayed and the ground shook more intensely. The once gentle landscape now seemed tense and unsettled. Suddenly, a group of tall, silver beings appeared through the trees. They were the Lumini, the same alien race that had originally left Lumi behind. Their elegant forms glinted in the sunlight, and their faces were set with expressions of anger and frustration. Captain Thompson and the crew stopped in their tracks. The Lumini, with their shimmering silver skin and regal appearance, were clearly not happy to see the humans. The leader of the Lumini, a tall figure with a commanding presence, stepped forward. "Who are you?" the Lumini leader demanded, his voice echoing through the forest. "What are you doing with one of our young—" The crew looked at each other, unsure how to respond. Lumi huddled close to Captain Thompson, its small body trembling with fear. "We found this puppy alone and in distress," Captain Thompson said, trying to stay calm. "We've been taking care of it and ensuring its safety." The Lumini leader's eyes narrowed. "That puppy is one of ours. It was left behind by mistake. You have no right to keep it." Dr. Hart stepped forward, her voice steady. We didn't mean any harm. We were trying to help it. It's been through a lot. The Lumini leader's expression did not soften. It is our responsibility to care for our own. We will take it back. Captain Thompson knew they needed to find a way to resolve the situation peacefully. Please understand that Lumi has grown attached to us. We've built a bond with it. We only want what's best for it. The Lumini leader's gaze remained stern. Your intentions may be good, but it is not your place to decide what is best for our young. We must take it back. The tension in the air was palpable. Lumi looked up at the humans, its eyes filled with worry. It could sense the conflict and did not understand what was happening. The crew felt a deep sense of protectiveness for Lumi and did not want to see it taken away. Captain Thompson took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. Can we find a compromise? Maybe we can work together to ensure Lumi's well-being. We only want to make sure it is safe and happy. The Lumini leader seemed to consider this for a moment. Perhaps there is a way to resolve this. We need to discuss it with our council. But be warned, if we cannot reach an agreement, we will take the puppy with us. The Lumini leader turned and began to walk away, his followers trailing behind. The forest grew quiet once more, but the crew's anxiety remained. They had managed to buy some time, but they knew they had to find a solution quickly. We need to come up with a plan, Captain Thompson said, her voice filled with determination. Lumi's well-being is our top priority. Dr. Hart nodded. We should try to learn more about the Lumini's concerns and see if there's a way to address them. Maybe we can find a solution that works for everyone. Lieutenant Evans looked at Lumi, who was still huddled close to Captain Thompson. We need to reassure Lumi and keep it safe. We'll figure this out. The crew returned to the cave, their minds racing with thoughts of how to handle the situation. Lumi's trust in them was evident, and they felt a strong sense of responsibility to protect their new friend. As the sun set and the forest grew darker, the crew gathered around Lumi, comforting and reassuring it. They spoke softly and gently, trying to ease its fears and provide a sense of security. Lumi snuggled close to the humans, its small body seeking warmth and comfort. Despite the looming uncertainty, the bond between Lumi and the crew remained strong. They knew that they had to face the challenge ahead with courage and compassion. The night passed slowly, filled with anxious thoughts and quiet determination. The crew knew that they had to act quickly to find a resolution and ensure Lumi's safety. The future of their new friend depended on their ability to navigate the delicate situation with the Lumini. As dawn approached, the crew prepared to meet with the Lumini again. They were ready to negotiate and find a solution that would ensure Lumi's happiness and well-being. The challenge ahead was daunting, but they were committed to doing whatever it took to protect their beloved friend. Tough choices. The morning sun cast a soft golden glow over Lumina as the crew of the Starlight Voyager prepared for their meeting with the Lumini. The tension from the previous day still hung in the air. Captain Jane Thompson, Dr. Lisa Hart, and Lieutenant Mark Evans gathered outside the cave, their faces set with determination and concern. Lumi, their small lavender friend, was curled up on its new bed, its eyes filled with worry. The crew had tried their best to comfort Lumi, but the little puppy sensed the seriousness of the situation. Captain Thompson knelt beside Lumi, gently stroking its fur. "We're going to do everything we can to help you," she said softly. "Just stay close to us and trust that we're on your side." Lumi's tail gave a small wag, and it looked up at Captain Thompson with a mixture of hope and anxiety. The crew knew that finding a solution was crucial, not just for Lumi's sake, but for their own mission success. As the crew made their way to the meeting spot, they saw the Lumini waiting. The Lumini leader, along with several other members of their race, stood in a circle, their expressions serious and unreadable. The crew took a deep breath and approached the group. "Thank you for meeting with us again," Captain Thompson said, her voice calm but firm. "We hope we can find a solution that works for everyone." The Lumini leader nodded. "We have discussed the situation with our council. We are willing to hear your proposals, but we must emphasize that Lumi's well-being is our primary concern." Dr. Hart stepped forward holding a small tablet with information about Lumi's health and needs. "We've learned a lot about Lumi during our time together. It's clear that it has formed a bond with us and that it is healthy and happy in our care. We believe that it would benefit from remaining with us." The Lumini leader studied the tablet carefully, his eyes scanning the data. "Your observations are noted, but Lumi is one of our young. We have specific traditions and responsibilities regarding its care. We must consider what is best according to our customs. Lieutenant Evans took a deep breath and spoke up. We understand your concerns, but we've also seen how Lumi has thrived with us. We're willing to work with you to find a compromise. Maybe there's a way we can share responsibility or find a solution that respects both your traditions and Lumi's needs. The Lumini leader looked thoughtful but still firm. We must ensure that Lumi's future is secure. We are open to suggestions, but we must also protect our customs and responsibilities. Captain Thompson nodded. What if we propose a trial period? Lumi could stay with us for a while longer, and during this time, we could work together to learn more about each other's ways and find a lasting solution. The Lumini leader considered this proposal. A trial period could be acceptable, but we would need to set specific conditions and ensure that Lumi's well-being is continuously monitored. Dr. Hart quickly agreed. We can arrange regular check-ins and updates. We'll share all relevant information with you and make sure that Lumi's needs are met. The Lumini leader nodded slowly. Very well. We will agree to a trial period, but we will require detailed reports and regular visits to assess Lumi's condition. We will also need to establish a way to ensure that our traditions are respected. Captain Thompson was relieved by the agreement, but knew there was still much work to be done. We appreciate your willingness to consider our proposal. We'll work hard to ensure that Lumi's well-being is maintained and that we meet all the conditions. The meeting ended on a cautious note of cooperation. The Lumini left with a promise to return for regular assessments, and the crew of the Starlight Voyager was left with a mix of relief and apprehension. They had managed to buy time, but the real challenge lay ahead. Back at the cave, the crew gathered around Lumi, who seemed to sense that things were still uncertain. The small puppy looked up at them with a hopeful gaze, its tail wagging tentatively. "We've got some time to make things right," Captain Thompson said, trying to reassure Lumi. "We'll make sure you're safe and happy." Dr. Hart began to prepare a detailed plan for the trial period. She organized schedules for regular updates and created a system for tracking Lumi's health and well-being. The crew knew that they had to work diligently to meet the Lumini's conditions and ensure that Lumi was cared for properly. Lieutenant Evans, meanwhile, worked on establishing communication channels with the Lumini. He set up regular meetings and ensured that all necessary information would be shared promptly and transparently. As the days passed, the crew continued to care for Lumi with the same dedication and love they had always shown. They made sure to provide plenty of playtime, attention, and affection. They also documented every detail of Lumi's health and happiness, preparing for the upcoming assessments. The trial period was both a relief and a source of stress. The crew knew that their every action would be scrutinized, and they were determined to prove that Lumi's well-being was their top priority. Despite the challenges, there were moments of joy and connection. Lumi continued to grow more confident and playful, its bond with the crew growing stronger each day. The crew's efforts to ensure Lumi's happiness were evident in the puppy's cheerful demeanor and lively spirit. As the first assessment approached, the crew felt a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. They knew that the outcome would be crucial for Lumi's future. They were prepared to show the Lumini that Lumi was thriving and that their care was both genuine and effective. In the quiet moments of preparation, Captain Thompson, Dr. Hart, and Lieutenant Evans reflected on the journey they had shared with Lumi. They had faced tough choices and challenges, but they were committed to doing everything in their power to protect their new friend and find a solution that respected everyone involved. As the sun set on Lumina, the crew gathered around Lumi, their hearts full of hope and determination. They were ready to face the upcoming assessment and to continue their efforts to ensure that Lumi's future was bright and secure. Puppy's feelings. The trial period was underway, and life on Lumina continued with a mix of routine and tension. The crew of the Starlight Voyager was determined to meet the Lumini's conditions and show that Lumi was in good hands. Each day was filled with careful observations, detailed reports, and constant care for their small lavender friend. Lumi, meanwhile, was adjusting to the new routine. The little puppy had grown accustomed to the regular check-ins from the Lumini and the daily reports the crew prepared. It enjoyed the playtime and affection from Captain Jane Thompson, Dr. Lisa Hart, and Lieutenant Mark Evans. But amidst all the activity, there was something deeper that the crew had not fully understood, Lumi's own feelings and thoughts. One afternoon, as the sun cast a warm golden light over the forest, Dr. Hart sat with Lumi near the cave entrance. She had noticed that Lumi seemed quieter than usual and wanted to spend some extra time with the puppy. Lumi lay on a soft blanket, its small body curled up. It looked up at Dr. Hart with eyes full of emotion, its tail wagging slowly. Dr. Hart gently stroked Lumi's fur, her voice soft and comforting. "Hey there, Lumi," she said soothingly. "You seem a little quiet today. Is something bothering you?" Lumi gave a soft whine and nuzzled closer to Dr. Hart. The puppy's big eyes seemed to convey a sense of confusion and uncertainty. Dr. Hart could tell that Lumi was feeling more than just physical comfort. The situation with the Lumini and the constant changes were taking an emotional toll on the small creature. Captain Thompson and Lieutenant Evans joined them, sensing that something was wrong. Captain Thompson sat down next to Dr. Hart, her eyes filled with concern. "What's going on with Lumi?" she asked. Dr. Hart looked up, her expression thoughtful. "I think Lumi might be feeling overwhelmed. The constant changes and the stress of the situation with the Lumini are probably affecting it." Lieutenant Evans knelt beside Lumi, offering a gentle pat on the head. "We need to make sure Lumi knows it's safe and loved. We've been so focused on meeting the Lumini's requirements that we might have overlooked Lumi's feelings." Captain Thompson nodded. "We should try to make Lumi feel more secure and happy. Maybe we can spend some time just playing and relaxing together without worrying about the assessments." The crew decided to dedicate the rest of the day to Lumi's emotional well-being. They set up a special play area outside the cave, filled with Lumi's favorite toys and comfortable bedding. They also made sure to provide extra treats and attention, hoping to lift Lumi's spirits. As they played with Lumi, the puppy's mood began to improve. It chased after balls, pounced on squeaky toys, and rolled around in the soft grass. The crew laughed and cheered, encouraging Lumi to enjoy the moment. Slowly, the little puppy's tail started wagging more energetically, and its earlier anxiety seemed to fade away. Captain Thompson, Dr. Hart, and Lieutenant Evans took turns playing with Lumi. Each one focused on making the puppy feel happy and secure. They shared stories and jokes, their laughter mingling with Lumi's playful barks. After some time, the crew gathered around Lumi for a relaxing cuddle session. They sat in a circle with Lumi comfortably nestled in the middle. They spoke in gentle, soothing tones, reassuring Lumi that it was safe and loved. Dr. Hart looked down at Lumi, her eyes filled with compassion. "We know things have been a bit uncertain lately, but we're here for you. We want you to feel happy and comfortable." Lumi responded with a contented sigh, its eyes closing as it relaxed into the crew's gentle care. It seemed to understand that they were there to support and comfort it, and the bond between them grew even stronger. As the evening approached, the crew prepared a special dinner for Lumi. They made sure it was a meal that Lumi enjoyed, with extra care and attention given to its favorite foods. They served the meal in a cozy spot near the cave, where Lumi could eat in peace and comfort. While Lumi enjoyed its dinner, the crew sat nearby, discussing their plans for the coming days. They knew that the next assessment with the Lumini was approaching, and they wanted to be fully prepared. Lieutenant Evans looked at Lumi, who was happily eating and wagging its tail. "I think we're on the right track. Lumi seems much more relaxed and content." Captain Thompson smiled, watching Lumi with a sense of relief. "Yes, it's important to remember that Lumi's feelings are just as important as its physical well-being. We need to make sure it feels secure and loved." Dr. Hart nodded in agreement. "We'll continue to focus on Lumi's emotional health and make sure it knows it's a valued part of our team. That way, we can face the upcoming challenges with confidence." The crew's efforts paid off as Lumi's mood improved significantly. The little puppy was once again playful and curious, its earlier anxieties replaced by a renewed sense of happiness. The bond between Lumi and the crew was stronger than ever, and they felt more determined to ensure that Lumi's future was secure and bright. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, the crew gathered around the fire, sharing stories and enjoying each other's company. Lumi lay curled up between them, its small body warm and content. The crew knew that the journey ahead would still be challenging, but they felt more confident and hopeful. They had taken the time to understand Lumi's feelings and had made sure to provide the emotional support that their new friend needed. In the quiet of the evening, as the firelight danced on their faces, the crew of the Starlight Voyager felt a deep sense of connection and commitment. They were ready to face whatever challenges came their way, knowing that their bond with Lumi was strong and that they had made a positive difference in the life of their beloved friend. Finding a solution. The days were ticking down to the next assessment from the Lumini, and the crew of the Starlight Voyager was working hard to prepare. They had focused on Lumi's well-being, making sure the small alien puppy was happy and healthy. However, the looming assessment was a constant reminder of the delicate situation they were in. Captain Jane Thompson, Dr. Lisa Hart, and Lieutenant Mark Evans spent their days carefully documenting Lumi's progress and maintaining open lines of communication with the Lumini. They knew that they needed to find a solution that would satisfy both the Lumini's concerns and their own desire to keep Lumi safe and happy. One morning, Captain Thompson called a meeting with the crew. "We need to come up with a solid plan for the assessment. We've done everything we can to ensure Lumi's well-being, but we need a strategy to show the Lumini that we're committed to their traditions and Lumi's future." Dr. Hart nodded, her face serious. "We've been working hard to meet the Lumini's conditions. We need to prepare a presentation that highlights our efforts and demonstrates our commitment." Lieutenant Evans agreed. "Let's make sure we cover all our bases. We should include detailed reports on Lumi's health, records of our daily interactions, and evidence of the bond we've built with it." The crew spent the day preparing for the upcoming assessment. They compiled Lumi's health data, created a detailed timeline of their interactions, and gathered testimonials from their own observations. They also included video clips of Lumi playing and interacting with the crew, showing the positive environment they had created for the puppy. As the assessment day approached, the crew felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. They knew that their presentation had to be thorough and convincing. They also wanted to ensure that Lumi felt comfortable and at ease during the visit. The Lumini arrived promptly at the agreed-upon time. They were led by the same leader who had previously expressed concern, accompanied by a team of observers. The crew greeted them warmly and guided them to the designated area where they had set up their presentation. Captain Thompson welcomed the Lumini leader and his team. "Thank you for coming. We've prepared a detailed overview of Lumi's progress and well-being. We hope it will address any concerns you may have." The Lumini leader nodded, his expression attentive. "We appreciate your efforts. We look forward to reviewing the information and assessing Lumi's condition." Dr. Hart began the presentation, explaining the steps they had taken to ensure Lumi's health and happiness. She highlighted the daily routines, the special care given to Lumi, and the positive changes they had observed. Lieutenant Evans showed the video clips, which included scenes of Lumi playing with its favorite toys, interacting joyfully with the crew, and snuggling contentedly. The Lumini watched attentively, their expressions reflecting interest and consideration. Captain Thompson provided additional context, explaining the bond that had developed between the crew and Lumi. "We have worked hard to create a safe and loving environment for Lumi. We believe that our care has helped it thrive and feel secure." The Lumini leader and his team reviewed the materials carefully. They asked questions about specific aspects of Lumi's care and the crew's daily interactions with the puppy. The crew answered each question with confidence and transparency, providing detailed explanations and additional documentation when needed. After a thorough review, the Lumini leader gathered his team for a brief discussion. The crew waited anxiously, hoping that their efforts would be recognized and appreciated. The Lumini leader returned with a thoughtful expression. "We have reviewed the information you provided and observed Lumi's condition. It is clear that you have put significant effort into caring for it. Your dedication and the positive changes we have seen are commendable." The crew felt a wave of relief wash over them. Captain Thompson took a deep breath and asked, "So, what is the decision?" The Lumini leader continued. "We acknowledge the strong bond that has formed between you and Lumi. We are willing to allow Lumi to remain with you under certain conditions. We will continue to monitor its well-being, but we are confident in your commitment." The crew was overjoyed by the decision. They thanked the Lumini leader and his team for their understanding and cooperation. The Lumini expressed their appreciation for the crew's efforts and left with a sense of satisfaction. Back at the cave, the crew celebrated the positive outcome. Lumi seemed to sense the change in atmosphere and bounced around happily, its tail wagging with excitement. The crew gathered around Lumi, their faces lit up with smiles. "We did it!" Lieutenant Evans exclaimed. "Lumi can stay with us!" Dr. Hart knelt beside Lumi, gently patting its head. "You did so well, Lumi. We're so happy that we can continue to be together." Captain Thompson looked at her team, her eyes filled with gratitude. "This has been a challenging journey, but it's been worth every effort. We've not only ensured Lumi's safety, but also built a stronger bond with it." The crew spent the rest of the day enjoying each other's company and celebrating their success. They played with Lumi, laughed, and shared stories about their experiences. The atmosphere was filled with joy and relief, and Lumi's happiness was evident in its playful antics and contented sighs. As the sun set and the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, the crew felt a deep sense of accomplishment. They had faced challenges and tough choices, but they had ultimately found a solution that respected Lumi's needs and their own commitment. With the Lumine's approval and Lumi's well-being secured, the crew of the Starlight Voyager looked forward to the future with optimism. They knew that their journey together was far from over, but they were ready to face whatever came next, with determination and love. Lumi curled up happily between them as they settled down for the night. The bond between the crew and their little friend was stronger than ever, and the future looked bright and full of possibilities. A new home. The sun rose over Lumina, casting a warm, golden light over the lush landscape. The crew of the Starlight Voyager woke up with a sense of excitement and anticipation. After weeks of careful planning and dedication, the day had finally come to welcome Lumi into their new home, a place where the little alien puppy would truly belong. Captain Jane Thompson, Dr. Lisa Hart, and Lieutenant Mark Evans had been working hard to prepare a special space for Lumi on the Starlight Voyager. They wanted to create an environment where Lumi would feel comfortable and happy, and where it could continue to thrive. The crew had transformed a section of the ship into a cozy, alien-friendly habitat. They included a variety of toys, soft bedding, and plenty of space for Lumi to play and explore. They had also installed special features to make the environment as close to Lumi's natural habitat as possible, with soft lighting and gentle sounds. As the crew made their final preparations, they couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and nervousness. They knew that this was a big step for Lumi and for themselves. They wanted to ensure that the transition would be smooth and that Lumi would feel at home in its new surroundings. Lumi, meanwhile, was excitedly bouncing around the cave, its tail wagging with anticipation. The little puppy sensed that something new was about to happen. It looked up at the crew with eager eyes, ready for the next adventure. Captain Thompson knelt beside Lumi, gently patting its head. "Are you ready for a new home, Lumi?" she asked with a warm smile. Lumi responded with a happy bark and a playful wag of its tail. It seemed to understand that the crew had something special planned. With everything ready, the crew carefully packed Lumi's favorite toys and bedding. They made sure to include familiar items that would help Lumi feel comfortable in its new space. They also prepared a special welcome meal for Lumi, filled with all its favorite treats. As they approached the Starlight Voyager, the crew could see the excitement in Lumi's eyes. They opened the hatch and guided Lumi inside, showing it around its new home. The space was designed with care, featuring cozy nooks and playful areas for Lumi to explore. Lumi's eyes widened as it took in the new surroundings. The soft lighting and gentle sounds created a calming atmosphere. The familiar toys and bedding made the space feel comforting and safe. Dr. Hart set up Lumi's favorite toy in a special spot, encouraging it to explore. "This is your new home, Lumi," she said softly. "We've made it just for you." Lumi eagerly sniffed around and began to play with its toys. It bounced from one corner to another, exploring every inch of the new space. The crew watched with smiles, their hearts full of joy at seeing Lumi so happy and excited. As the day went on, Lumi settled into its new home with increasing comfort. It enjoyed the special meal prepared just for it and seemed to relax as it played and explored. The crew continued to check in, making sure everything was perfect and that Lumi was adjusting well. Captain Thompson, Dr. Hart, and Lieutenant Evans gathered together to reflect on their journey. They had faced many challenges and tough decisions, but their efforts had paid off. Lumi was now a part of their family, and the new home they had created was a testament to their dedication and love. "We've come a long way," Captain Thompson said, her voice filled with pride. "Lumi's new home is everything we hoped it would be. We've managed to create a space where it can be happy and safe." Dr. Hart nodded in agreement. "It's been a journey, but seeing Lumi so content makes it all worthwhile. We've built a strong bond with it, and now we have a place where we can all be together." Lieutenant Evans smiled, watching Lumi play with a new toy. I'm excited to see what the future holds. We have a wonderful new home and a happy friend. It's going to be an amazing adventure. As evening approached, the crew gathered around Lumi for a final check-in. They played with it, shared stories, and enjoyed each other's company. Lumi's tail wagged happily, and it seemed to have fully embraced its new home. The crew knew that there would be more adventures and challenges ahead, but they were ready to face them together. Lumi had become an integral part of their team, and they were committed to providing the best possible care and love. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Captain Thompson, Dr. Hart, and Lieutenant Evans settled down in their new home, with Lumi nestled comfortably between them. The warm glow of the ship's interior created a peaceful and cozy atmosphere. Captain Thompson looked at her crew and their new friend, feeling a deep sense of contentment. We've created a wonderful home for Lumi, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished. Here's to many more happy moments together. The crew raised their glasses in a toast to their new beginning and to the future they would share with Lumi. The little alien puppy curled up comfortably, its eyes closing as it drifted off to sleep, content and secure in its new home. As the night grew quiet and the stars continued to shine, the crew of the Starlight Voyager felt a profound sense of accomplishment and joy. They had found a place for Lumi to call home, and they knew that their journey together was just beginning. In their new home, surrounded by warmth, love, and the promise of new adventures, the crew and their beloved friend were ready to face whatever came next with optimism and excitement.